Sixth seal, cosmic disturbance. Revelation chapter 6 verses 12 to 17, New King James Version, NKJV. I looked when he opened the sixth seal, and behold, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became like blood. And the stars of heaven fell to the earth, as a fig tree drops its late figs when it is shaken by a mighty wind. Then the sky receded as a scroll when it is rolled up. And every mountain and island was moved out of its place. And the kings of the earth, the great men, the rich men, the commanders, the mighty men, every slave and every free man, hid themselves in the caves and in the rocks of the mountains, and said to the mountains and rocks, Fall on us and hide us from the face of him who sits on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb. For the great day of his wrath has come, and who is able to stand? Revelation chapter 6 verses 12 to 17, NKJV. For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And there will be famines, pestilences, and earthquakes in various places. Matthew chapter 24 verse 7. Then the angel took the censer, filled it with fire from the altar, and threw it to the earth. And there were noises, thunderings, lightnings, and an earthquake. Revelation chapter 8 verse 5. In the same hour there was a great earthquake, and a tenth of the city fell. In the earthquake 7,000 people were killed, and the rest were afraid and gave glory to the God of heaven. Revelation chapter 11 verse 13. And there were noises and thunderings and lightnings, and there was a great earthquake, such a mighty and great earthquake as had not occurred since men were on the earth. Revelation chapter 16 verse 18. For the stars of heaven and their constellations will not give their light, the sun will be darkened in its going forth, and the moon will not cause its light to shine. Isaiah chapter 13 verse 10. The earth quakes before them, the heavens tremble, the sun and moon grow dark, and the stars diminish their brightness. The sun shall be turned into darkness, and the moon into blood, before the coming of the great and awesome day of the Lord. Joel chapter 2 verses 10, 31. The sun and moon will grow dark, and the stars will diminish their brightness. Joel chapter 3 verse 15. Another parable he put forth to them, saying, The kingdom of heaven is like a man who sowed good seed in his field. Matthew chapter 13 verse 24. Immediately after the tribulation of those days the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light, the stars will fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens will be shaken. Matthew chapter 24 verse 29. The stars of heaven will fall, and the powers in the heavens will be shaken. Mark chapter 13 verse 25. Then the third angel sounded, and a great star fell from heaven, burning like a torch, and it fell on a third of the rivers and on the springs of water. Revelation chapter 8 verse 10. Then the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star fallen from heaven to the earth. To him was given the key to the bottomless pit. Revelation chapter 9 verse 1. They will perish, but you will endure, yes, they will all grow old like a garment, like a cloak you will change them, and they will be changed. Psalms 102-26. All the host of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled up like a scroll, all their host shall fall down as the leaf falls from the vine, and as fruit falling from a fig tree. Isaiah chapter 34 verse 4. But the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in which the heavens will pass away with a great noise, and the elements will melt with fervent heat. Both the earth and the works that are in it will be burned up. 2 Peter chapter 3 verse 10. Then I saw a great white throne and him who sat on it, from whose face the earth and the heaven fled away, and there was found no place for them. Revelation chapter 20 verse 11. Now I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away. Also there was no more sea. Revelation chapter 21 verse 1. Truly, in vain is salvation hoped for from the hills, and from the multitude of mountains. Truly, in the Lord our God is the salvation of Israel. Jeremiah chapter 3 verse 23. Then every island fled away, and the mountains were not found. Revelation chapter 16 verse 20. The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together, against the Lord and against his anointed, saying, Let us break their bonds in pieces and cast away their cords from us. He who sits in the heavens shall laugh, the Lord shall hold them in derision. Psalms 2, 2-4. Enter into the rock, and hide in the dust, from the terror of the Lord and the glory of his majesty. They shall go into the holes of the rocks, and into the caves of the earth. From the terror of the Lord and the glory of his majesty, when he arises to shake the earth mightily. To go into the clefts of the rocks, and into the crags of the rugged rocks. From the terror of the Lord and the glory of his majesty, when he arises to shake the earth mightily. Isaiah chapter 2 verses 10, 19, 21. It shall come to pass in that day that the Lord will punish on high the host of exalted ones, and on the earth the kings of the earth. Isaiah chapter 24 verse 21. That you may eat the flesh of kings, the flesh of captains, the flesh of mighty men, the flesh of horses and of those who sit on them, and the flesh of all people, free and slave, both small and great. Revelation chapter 19 verse 18. Also the high places of Avon, the sin of Israel, shall be destroyed. The thorn and thistle shall grow on their altars. They shall say to the mountains, Cover us, and to the hills, Fall on us. Hosea chapter 10 verse 8. For indeed the days are coming in which they will say, Blessed are the barren, wombs that never bore, and breasts which never nursed. Then they will begin to say to the mountains, Fall on us, and to the hills, cover us. Luke chapter 23 verses 29-30. In those days men will seek death and will not find it, they will desire to die, and death will flee from them. Revelation chapter 9 verse 6. Then I saw a great white throne and him who sat on it, from whose face the earth and the heaven fled away, and there was found no place for them. Revelation chapter 20 verse 11. For the day of vengeance is in my heart, and the year of my redeemed has come. Isaiah chapter 63 verse 4. Alas! For that day is great, so that none is like it, and it is the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. Jeremiah chapter 30 verse 7. Alas for the day! For the day of the Lord is at hand, it shall come as destruction from the Almighty. Joel chapter 1 verse 15. Blow the trumpet in Zion, and sound an alarm in my holy mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of the Lord is coming, for it is at hand. The Lord gives voice before his army, for his camp is very great, for strong is the one who executes his word. For the day of the Lord is great and very terrible, who can endure it? The sun shall be turned into darkness, and the moon into blood, before the coming of the great and awesome day of the Lord. Joel chapter 2 verses 1, 11, 31. The great day of the Lord is near, it is near and hastens quickly. The noise of the day of the Lord is bitter, there the mighty men shall cry out. Zephaniah chapter 1 verse 14. For they are spirits of demons, performing signs, which go out to the kings of the earth and of the whole world, to gather them to the battle of that great day of God Almighty. Revelation chapter 16 verse 14.